I taught you to stand there and yell Carol, because there's lots of kids that can yell mom, but there's only one me and I can recognize your voice.
They have a code word that they use to know this is serious. When he says that word, his kids know that this is a time that we are focused and we are potentially in danger. Kids shouldn't feel this impending sense of danger all of the time.
I would always have a go bag. I would always keep it in my car.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole, and welcome to the podcast. We'll be sharing wisdom and encouragement from my mom, a woman who has created a 36-year marriage full of joy and love, and raised 3 children to adulthood that love her and love each other. We'll be talking about how to be a great mom, how to be a great wife, and how to love your life in the process.
Unfortunately, as we all know, there have been quite a string of natural disasters recently in the United States and across the world that have really badly affected people's lives, and our hearts and prayers go out to all of those who have been affected. If you are interested in helping in some way, there will be links below in our description for this video and for this podcast on ways that you can help. But I wanted to have a conversation on how do you prepare for a disaster when you have a family, and then how do you handle yourself so that you are best equipped to take care of those you love?
I think one of the most important things you can do is teach your children your phone number and how to dial a phone. I'm sure they have access to a phone, and putting their phone number when they're little in their shoe, because usually the shoe, is not going to leave the child. So
just like writing with a Sharpie on the sole of it?
Inside, yes, or on the tongue, just somewhere on there that they have access to your phone number, and just teach them your phone number. Also, to find a parent or a security guard or something in a store if they get lost, and what to do. You have to have them, always be holding on to you when they're in a store in a safety situation. Never play hide and seek or any kind of games out when you're in public. That's for in the house when the doors are closed and you know exactly where they are. And then if they are lost, to give them tips like, what would you do if you were lost and you couldn't find me? Should you stand there and yell mom? I taught you to stand there and yell Carol, because there's lots of kids that can yell mom, but there's only one me and I can recognize your voice. So that's something that I taught you young. We just read a lot about what to do in disasters, obviously keeping calm and helping your child to stay calm, that everything's going to be okay. And that's, my job as a parent is to make sure that you're safe. And, you and your dad and I will find a way to make everything okay as best we can. And if we can't, explain why we can't, whether the house, got flooded or whatever has happened, your grandfather has died or something. Give them tips to deal with life. And then have a kit in the car and a kit in the home, and where they go, who they can trust. Just role play with them. What happens if we're out in a shopping center and you hear a loud noise? What do? You look to me now. Am I screaming? No, I am not screaming. I am purposefully taking them to a place of safety. And there's just hand-holding and a purposeful walk that they know that you mean business. And you follow me. You don't ask questions. You don't start crying, because we need to get to where we're going to be safe. So it's just talking about behaviors, talking about scenarios with them. At night, we might have, what happens if there's a tornado? Where do we go? What happens if you're at a friend's house and you don't feel comfortable? What can you do? And just role playing when there's not a problem helps to give you the confidence when there is a problem, what to do. So that's what we did a lot for disaster. But mostly, if I'm upset and screaming and crying and can't articulate, a 911 call, how are you supposed to be able to do that? I just have to teach, in the moment, to not get upset and not, freak out and start crying. So
I think those are all excellent tips. A couple of things that you said that I just I smiled a little bit because it's still so burned into my brain. And not only that, it's in the boys' brains too, is her phone number, I think, is one of is so ingrained to this day. I'm pretty sure it's the only number I know. I think it's the only number the boys know, because the other day my brother got locked out of his house and he had to borrow somebody else's phone because he didn't have his phone, and he called her. It's so ingrained in our brains. So I thought that one was just really powerful. I love the idea of writing it in the shoe. I think that really is a great way, especially when kids are little, that they can have some ownership over their own safety. I also really liked your point about a purposeful danger signal, or, it's a purposeful walk, when kids need to know the difference between we're playing now and now is for fun, and then this is serious and we need to be together as a unit. I think there's so many wonderful people that do great family safety. I can link below as well some wonderful channels that do great family safety content. But I've heard a man who was in the military and then now is a dad will talk about how does he communicate with his family, and so they have a code word that they use to know this is serious. And so when he says that word, his kids know that this is a time that we are focused and we are potentially in danger and we need to do something about it. And I love that idea, because most of the time we're just having fun, and kids shouldn't feel this impending sense of danger all of the time. So understanding when you can help them differentiate between just relaxed play time and focused protection, safety time, I think is so important.
I agree.
Other things that I really like that you talked about. So you speak a lot about not putting a burden on your children and the importance of remaining calm and kind of remaining that adult. So speak about that when you're in a danger situation. How do you keep yourself calm so that your family stays calm?
Well, your words matter. The way you speak to your child, if you tell them they're stupid, they're going to feel like they're stupid. But if you tell them you're not listening to me, they're going to feel like they're not listening to you. And just taking the time to, when there's not an emergency, to discuss what to do in an emergency is preparedness. It's very important, because you don't want them running in front of a car. They need to understand that they're this high and the truck is this high. They're not going to see you. It's not that they want to hit you. It's that they cannot see you. So that's why we don't run in front of a car. And just having different safety tips, like when your dad left the house or I left the house, he always made sure that the children were around him or the children were around me. And then I would give him, okay, signal, and they could go. They knew that he knew that you were with me and safe. I knew they were with him and safe. And so we didn't have, a child that was hurt by just a simple act backing out of the driveway. There's just a lot of things you can role play and do, and for safety. And things are going to happen, and it's heartbreaking. Things are going to happen, but just to try to do your best to give proper respect for safety.
I think you did a great job kind of covering typical safety issues, like how do you protect your kid from getting hit by a car? How do you protect your child when you're just out in public having a day? But what about for disaster situations? So how did you prepare us for things like fire safety?
Fire safety, we would run through drills. And then we would ask you, hey, what would you do if there was a fire in your bedroom? Where should we all meet? And we would run through fire drills. We had a safe place in the backyard that we all would go to, away from the house, but we would run there as quickly as we could. And then, we had a ladder that went from the second floor to the first floor when we had a house like that, a rolling ladder that you can give them. We taught the kids how to use it and where it was, and just give as many tips as you can. And we taught you how to put a fire out. You use a fire extinguisher at the bottom of the fire, not the top of the fire. And as you aged, we did more and more disaster drills for you. Yeah.
There's this wonderful company in South Florida. It's called D-Day Response Group. They are just absolutely fantastic. And they do a lot of trainings for first responders, but then you can sign up as a civilian to take their courses, and they do things like shooting classes, but they also do a lot of medic trainings. And so we would go into trainings on, if you were to get shot, how do you handle that? If you were to, have your artery pierced, how do you put on a tourniquet? All of those kinds of things. So we would also, as we got older, do trainings on how do you mitigate a disaster situation. So that's for prep, so for fire. But what other kinds of prepare? I think one of the things that you do really well is thinking ahead and being prepared for situations in the future. So how do you think about things like as a hurricane is coming, or as if you're in a place that's prone to tornadoes, how do you think about
Earthquake.
Yeah, or earthquakes, which we've
Yes.
lived in, definitely in a place with earthquakes. How do you think about preparing in advance for that as a mom?
Well, most things you have time to prepare, but obviously having the medical kit, knowing how to use it, where it is, teaching your kids as much as you can about these things, what to do, stop bleeding, things like that. Young kids can learn with choking, doing first aid, taught you all of that. Just trying to be proactive. And then if something does happen, it's going to be okay. As long as everybody's safe, it's going to be okay. And yeah, you might lose a house, which is traumatic, but your attitude as a mom and how you react to that sets the tone for the family. So if you're distraught and your possessions mean more than your family's safety, I think you just need to work on that if you can. And just to realize that everything can be made okay after time. And if something, your house is caught on fire, but your children and family are okay, that everything's going to be okay, and just build on that. And that has a lot to do with faith and a lot to do with prioritizing what's important to you.
I love that point about focusing on your priorities to keep yourself calm. And it's challenging, especially in today's day and age where everything is so expensive and it's hard to maintain that. But this idea that as long as the people that you love are safe, then it's okay. Things can be fixed, even if it is challenging. And I, totally want to have empathy for that. But you also mentioned the importance of faith in staying calm and being ready in a disaster situation. How do you think about that?
I just know that the God that I love and trust has my best interest in heart, and I put my faith in him. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing to me. And everything else, as long as my faith in God is our Savior, I just work on trusting him. And I know that he has my best interest in heart. And everything's going to be okay.
So let's talk a bit about something a little bit more fun in disaster prep, which is prepping, which I know is something that you love and have done. So how do you think about food storage and seed storage and water storage, and what do you do to make sure that our family has resources in case of a disaster?
Well, I've set aside money to have a little food storage, water prep, because you just never know. You have to be prepared. You never know when a tornado is going to come, and you just do your best, or your neighbor might need help. I just try to be that source of safety, and because I can't go out and cut down trees with a chainsaw, but I can deliver a meal to a family in need. And I just try to be that for people. And people have done that for me, which I'm very grateful.
So what kinds of specific things do you buy?
Long-term storage. You can get 25 years food storage if you feel like you want to invest in that. I thought it was good for our family to have some of that on hand, as well as extra cans of food and soup and beans and things, just in case we couldn't get to the store for some reason, whether there was an ice storm or whatever, a disaster. I would always have a go bag. I would always keep it in my car. Change of clothes, food.
For all of us?
Yes. Yeah.
Change of clothes, food, what else?
Food, water, medical kit, and extra tennis shoes in case you put in your old tennis shoes in the my go bag, that still fit, obviously, but your old tennis shoes. So I just had an extra pair of tennis shoes. Let's say you lost a shoe, and I would have an extra pair of shoes, or you can get an extra pair of Crocs or something to keep in your car. Just for those normal days that something happens out of the ordinary, your car has a flat tire. Wouldn't it be nice to have some water and some toys in the car to do, or a scooter or something that kids can go do while you wait for the tow truck? Just trying to keep food, water, medical things to do. So you didn't have, kids that were fighting because they're bored. And I just thought of those things that I tried to keep on hand. And most days I didn't need it, but when I did, I had it. So it's just the preparing for tomorrow makes you a lot more confident today.
That's great. Anything else on disaster preparation?
I think the most important thing is your attitude. And as long as your family's safe and you can put a smile on your face and make it fun as you can. I mean, I realize there's a lot of disasters that are absolutely horrifying, but you have to look at tomorrow as being a better day than today and put a smile on your face and help your kids to deal with being scared. Because if you're frightened and scared, it's going to amplify in them because they're not only worried about their own selves, but they're worried about you. And to take that worry away from them and explain, hey, it's okay. The car caught on fire. So what? Let's get another car. You may not have the money today, but you'll find a way to make it okay. And it's just how you're handling it, and you're teaching your children how to handle disasters or life that can be very difficult sometimes.
How do you keep yourself calm in those situations?
Breathe. And then I'm constantly thinking of the plan B. So if there is some kind of a dangerous situation, whether it be somebody's falling off down a hill or running into the street, I save my screams for when there's emergencies. And I will raise my voice if there's something that needs to happen at this moment to keep you safe. I will raise my voice. Otherwise, I don't feel the need to raise my voice. And I would just practice plan Bs. I would take a deep breath. I would say, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Okay, well, thank you. If you or your family have been affected by any of the disasters that have been occurring, we'll include some additional resources in the description of this video. And please stay safe, everyone.
And you can teach your children to donate too.
Mm.
And let's take this money instead of going to get this toy. Maybe we'll give it to somebody that doesn't have toys, and make their day better.
It's a great learning opportunity. Yeah. Okay.